right, hey everyone, we are going to get started now. My name is Allison Clark. I am the Member Services Coordinator and Communications Coordinator here at TIAPEI. I am also the Tourism Technology Coordinator for PEI as well. I would like to welcome you all to our webinar today about search engine optimization. This webinar will help you understand what it is and how to use it to your advantage. We're also going to focus on a little bit of how Google has implemented some new changes. To help us learn about this topic, I'd like to welcome TIAPEI member Jay Adamson from Analytic OR. Jay and Michelle own Analytic OR, and with other members of the team, they work with clients to develop and implement practical solutions to complex problems. We're going to be doing a Q&A at the end of this presentation, but if you have a question right away, there is a little icon at the top of your screen with the hand up. Just click that and we will get to you. And when you do get your answer for the question, just remember to put your hand down as well. This webinar is brought to you by Tourism Technology. And that is in addition to workshops, webinars, and focusing on a range of topics that are relevant to tourism operators. We are also offering a mentorship. So if you have any questions about anything, social media, technology, websites, anything like that, be sure to give me a call. It's 566-5008. So with that, I'm going to let Jay take the reins from here.
All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this webinar on search engine optimization. I'd like to thank Tourism Technology and the Tourism Industry Association of Prince Edward Island for the invitation today and for their work in setting up this session. As a bit of a background, as Allison mentioned, I'm a co-owner of Analytic OR based here in Prince Edward Island, where we specialize in creating effective websites that produce results for our clients. My specialty is information analysis, which includes measuring your website's impact through Google Analytics and search engine optimization, also known as SEO. In other words, how to make sure you get found by Google searches from people looking for the services you provide. I work with clients to improve search rankings and help them interpret information from their analytics data to make decisions for their business. So this session arose from some changes at Google a couple of weeks ago. Their mobile update received some publicity in the news media and left a lot of people wondering exactly what it meant for them. If you're not familiar with their announcement, essentially they said that they are going to use mobile friendliness as one of their ranking factors on mobile searches. So I'll talk a bit more about that particular update later. But first I'm going to talk about search engines and search engine optimization in general, try and set the stage for understanding search engine optimization. Well, many website owners feel like they're lost in the crowd. So see if this sounds familiar. You're starting or running a small business. You contract a website development company to build a website for you, or you decide to do it yourself. You feel like you have it just right. You have all the new bookings, the new customers, the new sales you're going to make through your new website, and then reality hits. It just sits there. Sure, some people check you out, but instead of the hundreds or thousands of visitors you expected, you're only getting a handful.
I'm just going to interrupt for a quick second, Jay. If everyone can mute their phones, just press *6. We can hear a few people talking and typing.
Pretty soon, you realize the online landscape is even more crowded than you expected, and you're just lost in the crowd. But you don't know how to stand out. Then you hear about this thing called search engine optimization. That seems like the answer, but even that's confusing. So if you feel a bit overwhelmed when the topic of search engine optimization comes up, don't feel bad. It has become a well-known term lately, but most website owners feel a bit lost and intimidated. Search engine optimization comes across as a big, overwhelming field full of uncertainty, a place where you could get lost and never know that you are making progress. Today, I'm going to explain to you a little bit more about just what search engine optimization is and give you some tips on how you can help yourself. So first we're going to try to set the stage by talking about search engines themselves, like Bing or Google. They've become so commonplace these days that most people don't even think about it. They type a question into Google and the answer pops up. But to understand how to help your website perform better, first we have to understand a bit more about the search engines themselves to understand what's happening. The first lesson to learn about search engines is that they are computers. They are not human. There is nobody out there looking through the entire internet, making a list of all the information. It's all done by computers. Search engines have computers that crawl the web, called bots or spiders. All that they do is go from page to page on the internet, looking for links from one page to another, and they read everything that they find and try to figure out what your page is all about. The second lesson to learn about search engines is that while computers may seem very smart, the reality is they're pretty limited. They can do things very fast, but they pretty much still read things at an elementary school level. There's many subtleties of language that they just don't understand. So a key takeaway here is that if you want your website to perform well in search engines, you have to make sure that the search engines can understand your website. And there are ways to do this, which I'll be talking about in a few minutes. Okay, now the search engines have found your site and figured out what it's about. What now? The entire job of the search engine is simply to match searchers with pages on the web and provide a ranked list of what they think the searcher will find most useful. And that's actually a very difficult problem. They do that by breaking the problem down into two parts, relevancy and authority. Relevancy deals with the question, is this website a match to what the searcher is looking for? So when you type a question into Google, it may find 2 or 3 relevant pages, or it may find 20 million relevant pages. The next step for the search engines is to take all of those relevant pages and sort them, to put them in rankings. That is authority, and this is the heart of search engine optimization. What makes one website more authoritative than another, and how can I move my website up in the rankings? So keeping in mind that quick overview of search engines, there are 3 golden rules for search engine optimization, each of which is important. The first is that your site has to be reachable by the search engines so they can crawl your site. Surprisingly, it's not all that unusual for some websites to essentially put up a wall around their site and accidentally tell search engines to stay away. These are usually technical issues, and usually they're not too difficult to fix if you know what you're doing. The second rule is making the content of your site easy to interpret. Remember, your site is being read by a computer with elementary level comprehension. Sometimes it's easy to confuse them. Often it's just a matter of giving the search engines the information in a way they can understand it. The third is improving the authority of your site. This is the most difficult part of search engine optimization. I won't spend any time on the technical barriers now under the first golden rule, but let's spend a little bit of time on the next 2. So making the content of your site easy to interpret. Now when I talk about making the content of your site easy to interpret, here's an example. This is a website from a photographer whose name I've blocked out. It's a beautiful website full of great imagery and examples of their work. But when it comes to search engine optimization, this site has issues. The biggest issue is a simple thing to keep in mind, and probably one of the most common mistakes when people make websites. Search engines, remember, are computers. They're robots. They cannot see and understand a photograph. Search engines are blind. All they know is that there is a photo. For this particular website, here is what the search engine sees. They do not see the photo. In fact, they do not even see the word photography at the top of the page, because that's not in text on this website, it's another photo. If you look at the menu, and you didn't know and had to guess, you might think that this website is about books, or maybe an academic website, or something else. It would be very confusing, and that leads us to our first tip for search engine optimization. Make sure search engines can see and understand your site. There are a number of ways of doing this, and it does take a bit of planning, but this page shows many of the things that you can do. First off, your title tag. The title tag is the wording at the top of your web browser. Make sure that this is clear. You can only get 60 or so characters to put in there. Make them count. This is actually one of the most important pieces of your website page. If you can't put the topic of your page into 60 or so characters, then maybe you should rethink what your page is all about, because chances are the search engines won't be able to categorize it properly either. The URL is sometimes called the page address. This is another opportunity for you to tell the search engines what the topic of the page is. Again, if you were to read only what is in this box, you should be able to figure out what the topic of the page is. If you can't do that, neither can the search engines. Your page title and your headers on the page are, again, a way for you to clearly express and emphasize the topic of your page. And the content of the page has to be written clearly for both your users and the search engines. Finally, remember what I said about search engines and that they cannot see your photos? Well, there is a way to tell them what the photo is about, and that is called alt text. Your photo should be described in 1 or 2 short lines, and there is a way to put that in the background of your web page. Keep in mind that if you have someone that is visually impaired on your website, they also won't be able to see the pictures, but they have tools that will read out the content of your website to them. When it gets to photos, again, the computer can't describe the photo on its own, so you have to tell it what the photo is about. That's what alt text also does. So in the same way that alt text tells computers or tells search engines what your website and the photo is about, it also helps your visually impaired visitors.
So Jay, just a quick question. Is there any specific words that someone should use or amount of words they should use?
Well, that depends on where you are looking. The title tag, you're limited to a few characters.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have short, succinct page titles and headers that, again, are descriptive.
Okay.
Your content, write it with your visitor in mind, but also at a level that will be understood by the search engines. So there's no real limit on the amount of content you can put. It just has to fit with what the topic of the page is about.
Okay.
Okay?
Great.
Now for the second tip. This is one that is particularly important in the tourism business, where your customers often aren't familiar with the local geography. Make sure your location is clear and consistent. Put your location in the footer of your website. Claim your page on Google's My Business site. Every place you have an opportunity, put your address on social media. Put it there. And make sure it's consistent. Use the same address everywhere. Use a street address and not a post office box. And why would you do that? For maps. If you're catering to tourist traffic, they have to know how to get to your business. If you don't give a street address, the search engines may not be able to pinpoint your location, and they're going to direct people to your competitors simply because they know where your competitors are at. This is also important because search engine results are customized. What one person sees is not the same as what someone else sees. And on a mobile device, one of the biggest factors impacting search engine results is your location. The search engines can usually figure out where the person searching on a mobile device is located, and they will return results for that location. If it isn't clear to the search engines where you're at, they may not return your website for that person, even if they're standing around the corner from you. And again, to emphasize, make sure it's consistent. If you have 2 different addresses, maybe a location and a mailing address, use your actual street location. Now, there are exceptions to every rule, but if you want to play well with the search engines, don't confuse them. And they can get confused easily. So be consistent. Now, this session was prompted by the announcement of a Google change to their ranking algorithm a couple of weeks ago. A change to search engine ranking algorithms is actually not very newsworthy usually. They change their algorithms almost every day. And in fact, there was news out just yesterday about another change that Google made to their search engine algorithms. Some of these changes are more substantial than others, but they are always changing. Knowing this, the first reaction may be that search engine optimization may not help because the target is always moving, but that's not the case. Remember, Google and Bing and other search engines can only make their money if the searchers are happy. Everything they do when they change the algorithms is an attempt to better match the searcher with the answers they are looking for. And that's what was behind the mobile update from a couple of weeks ago. Google has come up with a reliable way of determining whether or not a given website can be easily read on a smaller mobile device. The searcher on their handheld device wants exactly that. They want a website that's easy to read, not one where the text is so tiny and the buttons are so close together that they have to zoom in just to read it and use the site. Google is simply matching the searcher with the best destination. But this does not override everything else. There are still plenty of non-mobile friendly websites appearing in mobile searches. All that they've done is they've given a little nudge upward to mobile friendly searches, to the sites that are easy to read. But let's take a look at the tourism industry and its mobile usage. Priceline.com conducted a survey recently where they found that 94% of leisure travelers take a mobile device. What do they do with it? Well, maps, photographs, finding restaurants and stores, events, buying tickets, etc., etc. But look at the numbers. Look at how many people use their mobile devices while on leisure travel. The reality is that if you are in the tourism business and your website is not mobile, you're not speaking to your target market. Although Google's recent change makes it a bit more difficult for non-mobile friendly sites in a mobile world, all they're doing is reinforcing reality. If your website is not mobile friendly, then essentially you're reading university text to a preschooler. You're not speaking to your target audience. And that leads us to our third tip. Go mobile. Not simply because Google is boosting mobile sites, but because especially in the tourism business, it's just good business. Google is not only giving a little boost to mobile sites, mobile-friendly sites, but they're actually showing now in the search engines that are returned on mobile devices which sites are mobile-friendly, with that little tag circled in red. If you don't have that little tag, your visitors may pass over your site and go to somebody else who does and never even give you a chance, just because somebody else has a website that's easier for them to read. So how do you tell if you're mobile friendly? Well, Google offers a couple of tools. One is called Webmaster Tools, where they give you a lot of useful information on how they see your website. They give you information on mobile friendliness and a lot of other stuff. If you own a website and haven't already signed up for this, do it. There are a couple of steps involved, but it doesn't take too long. Also, Google has a mobile-friendly test page where you can simply enter the URL of one of your pages or anyone else's site, and it'll give you the status of that page. So if you recall from earlier, one part of search engine optimization is about building authority for your website. And how do you do that? This was the big breakthrough that Google made about 15 years ago. Technology at that time wasn't advanced enough for the search engines themselves to really tell which website pages were more important. What Google realized, and the people who founded Google realized, was that the best way of doing this is not to use what somebody writes on their page, but instead to see what other people were saying about the page, to see whether other people were referencing your website. Links became the most important factor in determining the importance or authority of a site. Today, as things have advanced, we've moved away from this a little bit as search engines have gotten better from at their tasks, but the basic concept is still very important. Your authority increases when other people say you are important. So that brings us to tip number 4, encourage reviews and mentions. Often we're a bit shy or reluctant to bother our customers or clients for these, but if you want to succeed in the search engine optimization game, these are very important. Again, from a survey by a hotel chain, they found that 40% of leisure travelers will have at least one restaurant review during or after their trip. Over half of people will like a Facebook page for places they've visited, and almost half will leave hotel reviews. These are all very important for your online performance, and they should be encouraged. The rules that search engines use for determining your authority are quite complicated, and not every mention carries the same importance. But the strategy is to improve your visibility and to get noticed. This will lead to gaining the links for your site that do count and are very important. But you also have to give users a reason to be interested in your website and a reason to link to it. Take the perspective of a potential website visitor or potential customer. Why should they link to your site? What makes your business stand out? And is that reflected on your website? When somebody links to your website, they are essentially telling the world, hey, there's something special about this place. Do you deserve it? And do you have the content on your site that's worthy of that recommendation? Links to your website remain the most important factor in search engine optimization. While there are strategies and tactics for getting those links, nothing will work without a website deserving of those recommendations. Take an honest look at your website and ask yourself, is there something about this website that makes it special? Is there a reason for somebody to point back and recommend to me, or recommend me? So, how do you tell if all your efforts are working? You need to measure your website performance. The majority of websites today have Google Analytics, but very few actually use it to its potential. Simply measuring hits and bounce rates and the other default measures don't actually tell you a whole lot about your website, and they certainly don't help you make decisions. The trick is to measure website conversions, which are your successful visits. These days, data is everywhere and can be collected very easily. The problem is getting overwhelmed by everything that is available. Data is useful when you can make decisions based on that data. When I talk to people about their website analytics, it usually comes up that they have Google Analytics, and often they say that they regularly check their numbers. But then I ask them a simple question. When have you made a decision based on your analytics? Very rarely is there a clear answer to that question, which means that the data that's being collected may be interesting, but is not yet a business tool. Using your measures effectively takes planning and upfront thought. It takes an understanding of the business, of customer behavior, of the strengths and limitations of analytics tools, and the goals of the business. Measuring search engine success starts with figuring out what success looks like. That's not as easy as it sounds, and it's different for everybody. But setting up meaningful measures is a topic for a whole other day.
So Jay, conversions and successes, are they on Google Analytics as well?
Google Analytics can be set up to measure your conversions and successes.
Okay.
A conversion is essentially what do you consider a successful interaction with your website.
Mm-hmm.
And then we set up Google Analytics to measure when that happens. If you can't clearly say what a successful interaction is, then maybe it's time to put something else on your website that will indicate a successful interaction.
Okay.
So Google Analytics is just something to measure. Your website has to be set up for your business and to take into account what you consider to be a success. So when it comes to search engine optimization, here's the frustration that many people feel. SEO is not a quick fix, unfortunately. It takes time and effort. I wish I could give you a magic bullet and suddenly all would be great in the world, but if such a solution existed, everybody would be using it. In the past, people have come up with ways to trick the search engines and get quick results, and they almost always get knocked down at some point. SEO is a concerted effort, and there are a lot of factors in play. But understanding how search engines work is the first step in making sure your online presence is helping your business. So I presented some tips here, but the main message I want to leave is this. Search engine optimization is simply matching business with their target market. It's the eternal challenge that business has always dealt with. What makes good business sense on the web is rewarded by the search engines. The challenge is that there have never before been so many different ways of reaching out and connecting. To navigate this world successfully, you have to know your business, you have to know your customer, and you have to understand that all-important intermediary, the search engine. So thank you for your attention today. We do have an ebook available on our website called Take Control. Although this is targeted at nonprofits, there are lots of general items in there for any website owner. My website and email are on the screen. You can feel free to contact me if you have any future questions. And we now have time to take questions from the attendees.
Thanks so much, Jay, and thanks everyone for attending this Tourism Technology webinar. Now we're going to do a little question and answer period. So if you have any questions, just click the top icon on your screen there, and it'll put your hand up, or just unmute your phone and ask us a question. Don't be shy now, anyone at all. Does anyone have any specific questions about their own website or anything like that? No one? Very quiet bunch today. Jay, that was great. I do really appreciate you coming in and doing that. The successes and conversions, are the successes different from the conversions, or do they go hand in hand?
They go hand in hand. A conversion is an action on your website that somebody takes that indicates a successful interaction.
Okay.
So the conversion is what your visitor does.
Mm-hmm.
The success is what you as a business owner consider to be something important on your website. They usually go hand in hand.
Okay.
Slightly different perspective.
So do hits and bounces have any leverage at all, or should we mainly be focusing on those two things?
Hits and bounces do, yes. As a whole, usually not.
Okay.
A bounce, in particular, has gained a lot of traction, but it can mean a lot of different things. It can mean somebody came to your site and quickly found what they wanted, so it was very successful, or they came to your site, didn't find what they wanted, and left. So it's very hard to tell if it's a successful bounce or a useless bounce.
Okay.
Hits depend a little bit on what you're trying to accomplish with your website. If your website is there strictly for gaining visibility, then yes, your hits will have some meaning. Although to really have meaning, you really want to delve down a little bit more and say, okay, hits from where are important? What hits are important? So getting down a little bit more detail is what really tells the story. And when it comes to measuring things on your website analytics, I always come back to the question, what decisions would you ever make with this data? If all it is, for instance, hits are usually what sometimes termed as a vanity metric, something that is interesting that you may you may follow just for fun, but if you aren't actually making decisions with it, then it's not as useful as it could be.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay. So we have a question here. Somebody asked, has there been a change with Google Analytics? Oh, I just lost my internet connection here. Okay, the question, everybody can hold on for 1 second. We just had our screen.
Just one moment here. Technical difficulty. All right, we have a question from Craig.
Okay, we have a question that, has there been a change with Google Analytics? We had an account, but now we have to sign up again. Can you tell what is involved with this? There could be a few things with that. There's a few too many possibilities to get into here. There hasn't been a major change with Google Analytics accounts in that way, where you should have to sign up again. Google Analytics did do a major upgrade, but that was about 1.5 years ago, I think, when they forced everybody to make that upgrade. But the same account should still be working. Yeah, without getting into more detail, it's hard for me to answer that question because there's a few things that could have happened there. If you want to, we can talk. You can send me an email, or we can talk offline and talk about it a little bit more.
All right. Does anyone else have a we have another one.
Okay, somebody asked, to improve your ranks by getting more links to your site, does it count if people are sending links via email or social media? Okay, that's actually quite a good question. Links by email, not so much. Those are really private communications between people, for the most part. Social media is a bit of a mixed ball. Some social media does help some. One thing about the search engines is that they are very private about exactly how their algorithms work. Having said that, there are entire companies out there whose job is to figure out how they work. Some of them, so the search engines have not revealed whether or not they take social media links into account, really. But what happens, though, is that some of those social media links will appear in search results, so they are indexing them. So if somebody is out there talking about your business and you have a lot of people talking about your company on search engine or on social media, they will sometimes appear in search results. So there is a benefit to it. The best links you can get are on other high authority sites. So if you can get links to your site from websites like newspapers, academic organizations, government organizations, and I'm talking about links that are in the content, not in the comments. So putting links in comments don't really work. But if you can get those types of links to your site, those are the ones that will help you the best. Okay, someone else asked, is there a good way to convert your Facebook page or site into a web page? There's no automatic way of doing it, not that I know of, unless somebody out there has come up with a way. There are ways that if you have a website, you can have your Facebook content, anything you post on Facebook, appear on your website. There are tools that will do that. If you want to convert your Facebook page to a website, essentially you have to build a new website with the content that's on your Facebook page.
Perfect. Anyone else have anything they'd like to ask Jay? Now's your chance. Don't miss out. You can just write it in the chat box there if you'd like. All right. Well, thank you, Jay, so much for doing this. If any of you have any suggestions about another webinar you'd like to have or a workshop you'd like to see put on about anything to do with technology or tourism, just give me a call. It's Allison at 566-5008, or just email me here at TIAPEI, and we can get started on that. I thank everyone who was listening today. It's wonderful to have Jay come in and talk about this topic. I mean, it's a very hot topic right now, and I think everyone should probably be taking advantage of it and getting their website SEO ready. If anyone has any other questions, now's your chance, or we will probably end this soon.
Hi there.
Oh, we have one.
Hi there, it's Mary calling, and I do have a question. I'm very, this is really quite over my head, but I'd like to go back to step one. Google Analytics is something, can you tell me, is it something that a website has to have to get recognition?
No. Google Analytics is free, and Google Analytics is a measuring tool. So it's a way to measure the activity that's happening on your website. You don't need to use it, although I highly recommend it for anybody out there who has their own website. So you don't need it. Google Analytics does not help your search engine optimization in any way, but what it does do is it gives you the ability to measure to see if you're making any headway with your website, if you're having any of those successes.
Okay, and on the website itself, when you're posting, making a page come up on, say, a blog, and it says, it does give you an option for links, that's when you're going to put in the words that will be recognized by a search engine?
Well, the search engines will pick up on pretty much everything you write on your page.
Okay.
When I talk about links, I'm talking about links from somebody else's website to your website. Those are the
okay.
And so in return, if on your website you are linking to somebody else's website, essentially you're giving them a thumbs up. You're giving them a vote in the eyes of the search engine.
So you're establishing a URL?
Well, you are putting a link, so you're putting in, if you're on your website, you would be putting in the URL of somebody else's website.
Okay.
That's creating the link. That's creating the vote in favor of that other website.
Okay. So how do I actually create the link?
Depends on
I
what
told you
you're
this is
using.
basic.
It depends on what you're using to create your website. A lot of people these days use WordPress to create their websites.
Yes, that's what I'm doing.
Yep, on WordPress you highlight where you want that link, and just above your editing box, there's it looks like a little chain, link from a chain.
Yes.
You just click on
Yes.
that, and then you can type in where you want that link to go to. So you could type in, so if you're typing a website and you're typing Tourism Industry of Prince Edward Island, Tourism Industry Association of Prince Edward Island, you could highlight that, click on the little chain link.
Okay. Right.
A pop-up will come up, and you can type in as the URL www.taipei.ca. And that will create a link back to TIAPEI, and you're giving TIAPEI your vote. Does that help?
Yep. Yep, it does. It does. I created a website for the tourism spot that I'm working in, and we haven't been getting a lot of notice, and that's why I'm here today. But that would be a real place to start, because I was thinking that just the words that you would put in would be enough to get search engines to notice you. But obviously, as you've been saying, you've got to go one step farther.
You really do these days. I mean, it's enough to get the search engines to notice you, but the problem is that there are lots of other people who will come up above you, and it takes some work to get to rise in the rankings. And so you need to do outreach. Social media helps, but getting other people to notice you is how you get the search engine to notice you.
Getting other right. So if I'm in the tourism industry spot, do I want, well, connecting to TIAPEI would be one of the first major connections to make. Where else do I go?
You could link to Tourism PEI as well. Are you on social media at all? Are you on Facebook or Twitter?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Make sure to like and follow those pages as well. They're pretty good links to have.
Anything that is similar to what we're offering.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, and another thing too, General, is that if you want an active social search engine optimization strategy, it really means developing new content for your site. The reality is that if you have a static website that never changes, you're not giving people a reason to keep coming back to it.
Right.
So if you really want to rise up in the rankings, you have to start putting content on your site that is interesting to people, something that will keep people coming back. So remember, the search engines are trying their best to reflect what people want. If your site is being held up against somebody else's site where they're constantly giving new information, new content, new reasons for people to visit, they will get the attention.
That's right. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And
we have had a static page over the last year or so, but that will change. And I've got some direction where to take it. Thank you.
All right.
This has been very interesting.
Thank you,
Mary.
Thank you.
I do have a question, Jay. If you upload a picture or a PDF to your website, should you save it as what it is? So if we had a PDF for Tourism Month agenda, should we save it as Tourism Month agenda, or should we just have it PDF 1, 2, 3?
Give it a name.
Okay.
So save it as Tourism Month agenda.
Yep.
And also when you upload it, especially if you're using WordPress, there is a box right there that says alt text or alternative text.
Mm-hmm.
Fill that in. All it takes is one sentence, but something to describe what it is.
Okay, great. Good tip.
Okay.
Anyone else have anything today? No? All right then, well Jay, thank you again for this lovely webinar.
Thank you.
If anyone has any questions later on, just feel free to email me and I can pass them on to Jay, or email Jay. His email's right there on the screen. And yeah, that's it for today, I guess. Do we have anything else? Nope. All right, have a great day everyone, and we will chat soon. Bye.
Thank you.